Hi, my name is Cassandra Mulcahy. I'm a licensed music therapist here with Integrative Medicine Support Services, and welcome to a presentation on the Connection Cure, how community enhances health. Here at Integrative Medicine, we have multiple forms of community that you can become involved in to aid in your health. We offer experiences and practices to help improve the health of both the mind, body, and the spirit. And I'm here to talk a little bit about some of the science behind that, and also to share what we offer. So when many of us think of the idea of connection, the biological hormone oxytocin comes to mind, and it does play a really important part in bonding and other things that we'll talk about now. So oxytocin is a neurotransmitter. It's also an anti-inflammatory source naturally in our body. So when we can activate that oxytocin, then we can help reduce some of the inflammation that may be associated with cancer and other illnesses. And certainly, inflammation is a big causation from stress. So just being involved in community and finding natural sources of oxytocin can help out with our stress response. Oxytocin supports a sense of safety, sociality, survival, and reproduction. Social and neuroimmune solutions to chronic stress. So oxytocin can help aid in the reduction of our chronic stress response. It's associated with recently evolved social situations to a variety of challenges necessary for mammalian survival and reproduction. So it hasn't been that far back in our evolution as a species here on this planet that oxytocin has been essential for our reproduction and survival. The shared functions of oxytocin and love have profound implications for health and longevity, including the prevention and treatment of excess inflammation and related disorders, especially with those occurring late or early in life and during periods of chronic threat or disease. So we can see just from this slide alone, and I've got some resources towards the end of this as to where this all came from, that oxytocin can be a really powerful way to help regulate chronic pain, to help us create long-lasting attachments and connection with each other, and it can regulate our perception of safety. And when we are going through a chronic illness, when we are going through chronic stress, then our sense of safety is compromised. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in this presentation, regarding the polyvagal response in the body as well. But just to be aware, oxytocin, it comes from the hypothalamus in the brain, and it synthesizes in other parts of the body where there is inflammation. So where there's inflammation, oxytocin the body naturally creates it at the source of inflammation, according to the sources that are cited later, in order to help reduce the inflammation. So for example, ovarian cancer tumors have levels 200 times greater of oxytocin than in plasma. And so we can see that the oxytocin is there trying to help that inflammation. We might even think of it as like the hug hormone. It's coming in to reduce the inflammation and give it a big old squeeze. So there's an ongoing project called Champions Show the Way. It's a local service project in the UK, and people in community volunteer. They volunteer as health champions and run activities that fall into one of four categories: creative activities, walking and gentle physical activity groups, mental well-being and social support groups, and long-term condition peer support groups. So based off of like an ailment that they might have, a long-term condition. And what they did is they looked at these activities and kind of correlated a sense of belonging. So the relationship between community and belonging, they took self-rated health scores across different life stages. And this is in a 2020 study. So they found that community belonging is associated with self-rated health at all ages. So belonging is a really important part of our health. That certainly since the pandemic age has begun, we in some ways our communities have diminished because of the safety threat. So that safety threat, reduces the oxytocin, and not being part of communities further creates a deficit in oxytocin, and moreover in our sense of belonging. And we all need a sense of belonging in order to feel welcome, to feel safe, to feel like we contribute meaningfully to experiences in life. So we need it not only biologically, but emotionally too. So in this study, they found that community belonging is more strongly associated with mental versus general health. So it's really important for our mental health, that sense of belonging. Weak community belonging is most strongly associated with self-rated health in middle-aged individuals. So they found that the health rated poorly if you're middle-aged, anywhere between like 30 and 60, I think was the age range. And they found that weak community belonging can be really a deficit towards the health. Social connectedness interventions should be aimed at all age groups was the recommendation from the study. So everyone benefits from social connectivity. Weaker community belonging exhibited an association with both poor general and mental health, though a stronger association was observed in mental health. So they found that people who belong less to communities had poor general mental and physical health. The largest effects among those reporting very weak community belonging were observed between those ages 40 to 59 years old. So, during that age of life when people are rearing children and might not have as much of an opportunity to be part of a community experience, and when they're, re-engaging into that. After children have left the house and we have that empty nest syndrome, we're finding more of a sense of belonging and community. But it's really important throughout all age ranges for us to be part of something. So the results of the study, and this was in 2018 and 19, before the pandemic, is that more than 1,700 people attended the activities that were offered in this program. 98.5% of people said that they were taking action and doing more that benefits their health and well-being, which created increased social connections and a stronger sense of belonging. They're both linked to better physical and mental health, which is a little redundant right there. So this is kind of a peek at the surveys right there. Those are the number of activities that were engaged in, and we look at general health. We can see up top strong community belonging and weak community belonging, and the 1 through 6 represents the scores, the mental health. So we've got the general health scores, and we can see that they're absolutely correlated with stronger community belonging equals improved health. Poor or weak community belonging is a poor general health. But we can see a really huge difference. And this is a graph on the mental health, just to put everything visually. We've got strong community belonging as improved community health, and weak community belonging has poor mental health. That's just a visualization of that. Another source that we looked at is happiness.com. They have a little page up there called The Importance of Community. These are just important kind of factors to be aware of. Community builds support and safety. Connection and belonging gives us meaning and helps us feel valued. How important is that for the human condition and our mind, body, spirit health? It also aids us like in influence, and we'll see later like the idea of accountability is really important with community belonging, and that it helps support healthy habits. You know, people who lose weight and have like accountability partners, or who are exercising and you have those gym buddies or accountability partners, really, really aids in your success rate and your ability to work more efficiently and effectively towards your goals. The importance of community also includes sharing. Sharing, of course, benefits our mental health. We've got a higher level of engagement. It improves positive emotions, and it adds a sense of empowerment when we share. And certainly when we receive that from other people, you know, there's sharing is two parts. It's giving and receiving. And being part of both of those is really integral to us being part of something bigger than ourselves and being part of that community. Community is also important because it involves a sense of learning. There was a beautiful podcast that I was listening to on emotional intelligence from NPR, I believe, and they were talking about how the more diversity you have in life, the more diverse your emotional intelligence is, and the more different types of emotions you're taking in from diversity in people. So learning, being amongst different kinds of people with different values and different belief systems and different ideas and ways of conceptualizing and framing the world can be such an awakening and evolutionary experience. Another importance of community is acceptance. So in coping with vulnerability and helping others avoid the emotional struggle and pain. Emotional struggle and pain, or the emotional struggle of pain. Suffering in life is inevitable. But being able to receive different perspectives on coping strategies can be really valuable. Being heard as we are going through emotional struggles can be completely invaluable. So happiness helps us accept and accept, our community helps us accept all of the stages of grief, right? We all go through, whether it's loss, whether it is a struggle with a physical or an emotional illness. There are stages of grief that we all go through in all different in all different waves and patterns. You know, we've got acceptance and denial and bargaining and anger and depression and being able to come to terms and help support others and ourselves through all of those pieces can be so powerful. And the more connections we have, the more chances of success we have too. You never know what doors people will open when you are part of a community. So Psychology Today also chimes in with the importance of community. Experiencing a sense of belonging is vital for our psychological well-being. Community can provide us with a sense of belonging, support, and identity, and there are specific ways that everyone can connect to and create a community. We've all got really, really beautiful, valuable gifts, and being able to be out there and share them with others. It's just so, the world needs us in many forms. Co-regulation in community. We'll go a little bit more into co-regulation and what that is and the importance of it when we talk about the polyvagal theory. But co-regulation can help us understand and respond to ours and others' emotions more effectively. It can help us build deeper connections, it can help us heal, and it can help us create positive narratives about well-being. And so community can be a really beautiful source to help us connect and find balance physically within our neurological systems, within our nervous systems. When we are out of balance, our nervous system is out of balance. And community can be a beautiful way to help us get back in balance. health. So the World Health Organization is a really beautiful source to look at. And they had a study on the sense of belonging, meaningful daily life participation, and well-being. And their quotes is the importance of social connectedness and sense of belonging is supported by findings on numerous health risks of the experience of social isolation and loneliness, including a suicide attempt, self-harm, higher prevalence of mental health disorders, exposure to violence, poor physical health, substance use, etc. So social connectedness helps us evade some of these really serious and significant mental health issues. A Forbes article on missing your people, why belonging is so important. A beautiful quote here. Belonging is a fundamental part of being human. We need people. And this need is hardwired into our brains. A recent MIT study found that we crave interactions in the same region of our brains where we crave food. And another study showed that we experience social exclusion in the same region of our brain where we experience pain. Work at the University of British Columbia found that when we experience ostracism at work, it can lead to job dissatisfaction and health problems. In a similar vein, the study at the University of Michigan found that when people lacked a sense of belonging, it is a strong predictor of depression. In fact, it is an even stronger predictor than feelings of loneliness or a lack of social support. So sense of belonging can be crucial. So they recommend embracing groups, being part of something. And the coherence and alignment between your goals and the group's process will help you feel a greater sense of belonging. Be authentic. According to some experts, trust is built when you are authentic, empathetic, and perceived as competent. You can create the conditions for belonging when you are open and vulnerable, as well as when you are empathetic towards others. So showing up as your best self and being in groups that help you cultivate that best self can also be such a powerful medium to grow and expand and work on your wellness. Signal acceptance, emotional and physical comfort help us relax. So being part of experiences that bring that emotional and physical comfort to you can be, in a group context, can be really, really magnified. Okay, and I'd just like to take a few moments and take a few breaths. Ooh. I'm going to stop the share for a moment before we go into the polyvagal theory. And we're going to move into an exercise to relax our nervous systems. So in music therapy, we recognize that the most effective music to help you relax is your preferred music. Many people who I meet do tend to like the sound of the harp, so I brought it for this presentation today. So, a great way to engage our parasympathetic nervous response, our relaxation response, is through breathing. So for a few moments, I invite you to close your eyes. Soft breath in. And a deep exhale. Soft breath in. Hold. Slow exhale. Hold it out. Slow breath in. Hold. Deep breath out. Soft breath in. And on this breath out, make an ah sound. Ah. Soft breath in. And one more. Ah. And if you're closing your eyes with me, you're welcome to open them, taking as much time as you need. And joining me for the next segment of this presentation. Alright, so the polyvagal theory was theorized in 1994. And there have been a lot of people who have expanded on this concept. But it's the role that our autonomic nervous system plays in regulating our health and our behavior. And I'm bringing this to the table because many of the folks that I work with chronic health issues, in particular folks with cancer, tend to have really overactive nervous systems. The amount of trauma that you go through just from waiting for test results, that 2 or 3 days or a week to receive answers can be really torturous to people. And then if you need to go to treatment on top of that, it can be a really excruciating process. I've had folks who have had multiple surgeries, and the trauma of being in a hospital and being in a chaotic, unknown, fast-paced environment can be a lot on our nervous systems. So sometimes being able to name what is going on can help our nervous system relax. Just alone being able to identify what's going on in the body. And this is a really beautiful woodcut of the polyvagal system. So here's what we're looking at. We've got the brain, which is sending all of this information down to the vagus nerve, which runs all throughout the body. You can imagine all of the organs connected to the heart, to the lungs, to the kidneys, and the brain sends information down, but it also works in the opposite way, and more so that all of these nerves are actually feeding sensory information to the brain, telling us whether or not we're safe, and doing things to engage that parasympathetic nervous response, such as deep breathing, such as humming, such as singing, such as yoga, such as gentle movement paired with breath, like in our Qigong classes that we have here, in our yoga classes, that stillness that we engage with our acupuncture practices here. There are so many different ways that we can engage this parasympathetic nervous response. So here are some pieces to be aware of, some kind of terminology when we're talking about the polyvagal system. We've got neuroception, which is essentially like our body's ability to scan the environment for danger, safety, or threats. And if we are in a heightened state of perceived, perceived danger, and it doesn't have to be, a bear marching into the room suddenly, the chronic stress of being in medical experiences or crises can create a sense of danger and can kind of throw our nervous system off balance. So we kind of think of, perception as our ability to perceive and sense things, but neuroception is our nervous system's ability to sense for threats. And it doesn't really go necessarily through our thought process. It's all automatic. Automatic. So it's that nervous system that responds intuitively to what's going on. And we can, through different practices, retrain that neuroception to find safety in the environment. hierarchical organizations. The autonomic nervous system has like this hierarchy of things with three different subsystems. We've got our ventral vagal complex, our sympathetic nervous system, and our dorsal vagal complex. So they are like in order of being very, very calm to being very reactive to being frozen in fear. In that order, and it has been an evolutionary progression, the way that we have developed on a cellular level for billions of years. This process has been developing as long as neurons in the brain have existed here on this planet. And there are some things that are billions. These systems that we have in our body are the result of billions of years of evolution, and things that, if triggered, we can't necessarily escape, but we can learn to name, and we can learn tools to help get out of these stress responses. Being part of community and achieving that sense of safety can really, really help. The phylogenetic shift is the theory focused on evolutionary transition from reptiles to mammals and then humans, resulting in changes to the vagal pathways regulating the heart. Social engagement is the theory that proposes that social engagement is a fourth behavioral adaptation. So we've got, flight, fight, and freeze, and social engagement is kind of a more recent response evolutionarily, that we've needed to be socially engaged and in order to survive, whereas in the past earlier versions of life here on this earth have survived with that fight, flight, or freeze, but we truly need social engagement in order to exist these days as a human species. Vagal tone is the strength of the vagus nerve that can be measured using a respiratory sinus rhythm, which indicates the beat-to-beat heart rate variability. So these are just some biological markers that can look at your stress response. These days we've seen like more tech that regulate that measures your heart rate variability, or your HRV, which can tell you what level of stress you are in. And the more variability we have in our heart rate, the healthier we are when engaged in a stress response. Co-regulation is probably the most important piece when we're looking at the importance of communication and connection and community. In polyvagal theory, co-regulation is the process of two people, and I would even say two or more people, regulating each other's emotional and physiological states during social interactions. And it is a biological need that is central to human relationships. Now, if we have been in situations where we are maybe not born into families that have healthy levels of co-regulation, then this sense kind of might be skewed within us, and it is part of our journey as adults to learn to engage in a sense of co-regulation and to find and learn what is healthy for the mind and the body to regulate with. But it is essential to our wellness to be able to co-regulate. And we have such an individualistic culture that really, really stresses self-care and self-awareness and all of these. There's so much more in the self-care strategies of marketing that we have not been paying much attention to the community aspect of regulation. So co-regulation is essential, especially for regulating this beautiful system in our bodies. So this is a lovely map cited below from Stephen Forex, and we've got, so evolutionarily, I believe it's 500 billion years old, is the freeze response, which is that dorsal vagal response. So we are kind of coming back to this hierarchical organization. And back in the day when we had small multi-celled organisms, the way that they would protect themselves is from freezing. If you think of crabs or snails or turtles, they tuck themselves into the shell in order to survive. And when we freeze, we experience disassociation, numbness, depression, increased pain threshold, helplessness, shame, shutdown, hopelessness, and we might feel trapped or prepared for death. So it also, if you look on the right, we can look at some of the biological processes that are involved in the dorsal vagal complex. Our heart rate is decreased, our blood pressure, our temperature is decreased, our muscle tone. So basically, what happens is all of the attention to our body moves to our hands and our feet. And our digestion shuts down, our eyes might dilate, our endorphins numb us, our insulin and fuel activity decreases, because basically we turn on the systems that are necessary for survival at that moment when we are in that freeze response. So we become less attuned to the human voice. Eye contact might be difficult to engage with. Our temperature might drop. Our social behavior certainly is not of a great importance, so we might find ourselves isolated. Our immune system gets a hit from this too. Our immune system is kind of decreased or shuts off. So this is when we really feel like we are threatened, and it can be a single event that triggers this, or it can be a series of multiple events, or it can be an event that triggers a prior event. So freeze is a very real response to our nervous system's perception of a danger. Less intense on the body is the sympathetic response, our state of hyperarousal, and this is the dorsal ventral. This is the sympathetic response. So this is like what the body would kind of normally slip into when we experience frustration or irritation or fear or anger. And it's a sense of flight where we're moving away. So anger is, if we start yelling, typically it might kind of project away anyone who is within our range. It's to scare away things. Panic, fear, worry, anxiety can be a symptom of the body being in sympathetic arousal or in the sympathetic nervous response. And what we see here is our blood pressure increases, our heart rate is increased, our fuel availability is increased, adrenaline, our pupils dilate, our blood clots, our oxygen circulation to vital organs is actually decreased. We might find more activation in the heart and lungs, less so with digestion or kidneys. We find that our lungs, the bronchia and our lungs expands, and we might become more defensive. So insulin, fuel storage decrease, our digestion decrease, our salivations decrease. We might notice dry mouth if we become nervous. Our ability to relate to each other is decreased, and our immune system becomes decreased as well. So I might be doing this backwards. I'm doing it from most severe to less severe, but you might kind of recognize in your own experiences what in life has caused these responses, and if how frequently you feel them. And the ultimate goal, on an everyday basis, we are going to be, even just momentarily, shifted into one of these responses. A car almost cuts you off. You're gonna fight, or you might slam on the brakes and freeze. little things like that, but it's the body's ability to shift back into that ventral vagal system, that sense of safety, so that we can shift back into that social engagement where we are belonging, where we are in community, where we are developing our best selves. And when we are in that connection, in that social engagement, we're calm and connected, we are settled, we are grounded, we are centered, we are curious, we are open, we are compassionate, we are mindful, we are in the present. And nervously, our nervous system, our digestion improves, intestinal motility improves, the resistance to infection, immune response, rest and recuperation, health and vitality is restored, circulation to non-vital organs such as the skin and the extremities improves, oxytocin increases, which is involved, of course, we went over that, in social bonds, and allows immobility without fear. Ability to relate and connect. Movement in the eyes and head turning can be improved when we are in this state of nervous system safety. The prosody in our voice. We might have more range in our voice. We can speak higher or lower and more melodically. Breath increases. And our defense responses that are all kind of listed above are decreased. So the ultimate goal is for the body to return to the sense of safety. And again, in integrative medicine, we have a lot of practices that help promote the sense of safety in the mind and in the body, and give you tools for that nervous system to shift back into a state of regulation. I even think of some of the groups that I have where we do some singing. Not only is that great for breath support and helps engage the parasympathetic nervous response, but can also help with our sense of expression and our ability to vary our speech and deepen our sense of connection with the presence of our voice. And it's just really fun to sing with other people as well. When we are looking at belonging and connecting, SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health Association within the United States government, they have 8 dimensions of wellness. So as we're thinking about community belonging, you might just kind of tune in to what, in your family, in your community, and life might help meet some of these needs. We've got emotional needs, spiritual needs, intellectual needs, physical needs, environmental needs, financial needs, occupational needs, and social needs. We have this PDF here. I'm going to stop the share and bring it over to this PDF. And this is lovely. If you would just go to samhsa.gov, SAMHSA. This is kind of a beautiful workbook to tune into. It's a step-by-step guide to wellness. And here we have the 8 dimensions of wellness. Talks about creating balance and all the things that can throw us off. Embracing support from others. So we're looking again at that idea of community and the importance of it. Habits become difficult to change. And okay, so there's a lot of really beautiful things. There are beautiful resources regarding nutrition, physical activity, sleep, medication, preventative medicine. But what's kind of sweet is there is a little workbook where you can kind of plot out if you're in need of a resource or a guide to walk you through some of these dimensions. This is a really sweet piece. So it goes over our physical wellness, and then it gives you this worksheet on how to improve the physical wellness. intellectual wellness, and it talks about all of the areas of intellectual conversation, brain exercise, education, personal interest, gives you some resources. And where might you find that? So I can say that in our program, physical wellness, we've got yoga, we've got qigong, we have drumming as a physical wellness source that can really help improve some brain connections, for sure. I'll occasionally do movement groups as well, music and movement. Intellectual wellness, I would say that also the yoga, qigong, music. We've got individual therapy that we offer with our psychotherapist, Ellen, and all of these things. I run ukulele groups, or I also teach individual music sessions, which can be really, really great for rewiring the brain and helping to combat. A lot of my patients have said that it's helped with chemo brain, being able to learn an instrument and kind of redirect the brain from that state of trauma and overexertion and come back into a sense of safety. And I've had people who have had a difficult time reading, and engaging in music learning can help kind of shift the brain back into finding safety with being on a page. How to improve intellectual wellness. So you might decide, what are your intellectual wellness needs? Can we be of benefit to them here at Integrative Wellness? And back to the physical, of course, we also have massage therapy. I forgot to bring that up. That's another great way to improve the physical wellness, especially if you need some help with some lymphedema, so many beautiful aspects of massage. Financial wellness, this might be a job for Ellen, our psychotherapist. But beautiful resources over here, and you might be able to embrace that. Certainly as a financial wellness piece, many of our offerings are free of cost. We've got music, music, qigong, yoga are free of cost. Ellen, our psychotherapist, accepts insurance. Acupuncture is accepted by some insurances. If not, acupuncture and massage are like well below market cost, what we offer. And our offerings also, if you reach out to a patient navigator, there are things such as the Angel Fund, where you can get hundreds of dollars to help give yourself the gift of these resources. So we have funds available to people who need some of these resources. So if you know somebody in the Fairfield, New Haven County areas that do need some extra help financially with some cancer care, please reach out to our team. Environmental wellness. So you may kind of just notice in your world what helps you feel safe. We have a lovely healing garden here that we have groups out when the weather is nice. That's really sweet. Spiritual wellness, we've got a great palliative care team and a great palliative care chaplain if you need spiritually specific things. But finding that purpose and connection in life, any of our group situations can help with that spiritual wellness domain. The same thing with social wellness. So you might kind of look at what helps with your social wellness. Occupational wellness. We can work out issues, and certainly we can't offer you a job here, but being able to connect with one of our therapists if you need to work through things or need help navigating how to manage work and illness, we've got some support for you. Emotional wellness. Any of our groups can help you develop tools to navigate that emotional wellness. And that's that. So that's a beautiful SAMHSA offering that we have going on there. I'm going to share back to my presentation. So I felt that that was valuable, that the government has a really great resource there. There are lots of beautiful research studies on group versus individual meditation, and this affects a video-guided group versus solitary meditation on mindfulness and social connectivity. So they took a look at individual meditation and video-guided group meditation, and they measured the concept of social connectivity with different measurements and mindfulness. And they found that with the group practice, so they did group and individual, and there was a nature practice. So they found that the group practice and the nature had decreased the sense of solitary connectedness. So there was an improvement there. The group had higher levels of state mindfulness than the nature group. So the video-guided meditation group had improved mindfulness scores as opposed to the nature. And the mindfulness score was the same for the group and the solitary meditators. The group practice had higher level of social connection versus the solitary and the nature practices. So what this is getting at is that even in an online meditation practice, we can see that we have an improved sense of mindfulness, improved sense of social connection. So I offer a meditation every Thursday at 3 p.m. over Zoom. I also offer sound baths, and my drumming can also be really, really like chill and meditative as well. So those are all beautiful experiences, and certainly like the yoga and the Qigong are kind of like movement practices. Qigong does have currently they have a virtual group once a week and an in-person group once a week. So the benefits of group meditation experiences outweigh individuals. Meditation alters brain structure, and we can also use meditation to improve social connectiveness. So we can literally rewire our brains to engage that sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous response, that dorsal vagal, through our offerings. It's all a practice. Nothing happens instantaneously. In our culture, we'd like to take pills to make everything work very, very fast. But the truth is that we have these tools that we can work on building those long-lasting neurological connections to then enhance our physical and mental health too. This is another group mindfulness meditation study from 2014 where they looked at weight management and avoidance and impulsivity. We don't really focus too much on weight management here, although we do have an excellent nutritionist, Lisa Kuntz, who was at our last presentation on tea. Check it out on YouTube. It was really, really stellar. So she could actually help with some weight management if you are in need of that. But this particular study just really takes a look at the idea of how groups can help you with accountability in meeting your goals. So whether your goal is emotional wellness, whether your goal is relaxing, whether your goal is developing a movement practice that helps you connect the mind and body, the group situations and that sense of community and connection really, really helps us stick to our values more effectively. So if we look at the effects of this study, they looked at cognitive behavioral avoidance, impulsivity, and weight control both before and after the mindfulness meditation intervention. And they found that people in the group setting lost weight, they lowered their avoidance, but their impulsivity, so their ability to like impulsively eat and being mindful about eating was stable all the way through. But people individually who worked on this weight loss program, they lost weight, but they lost less weight. There was an increase in their avoidance, an increase in their mindfulness scores. So they were more mindful about what they ate, but the impulsive eating was or their ability to control their impulsive eating was decreased. So that's an interesting take on things that, again, group helps with the accountability. So here's just a little graph of our opportunities for community and co-regulation, so you can help strengthen your beautiful nervous system through our practices. We've got individual sessions with acupuncture, massage therapy, music therapy, nutritional counseling, psychotherapy. I forgot to put that one up there. That's a important one. And we have group sessions, Tai Chi / Qigong. We've got music therapy. We've got support groups for you. We've got yoga. And the music and Qigong / Tai Chi are also available virtually with group sessions. So we can do that co-regulation with individual sessions, or we can do that like collaborative co-regulation with group sessions. So in closing, I invite you to explore your wellness plan. It's always beneficial for us to tune into what the mind needs, what the body needs, and what the spirit needs. So we'll end with just a brief contemplative meditation. Let's stop this. Actually, what I may do, I thought that I had my contact information, but I do not. But you can reach me through the Norma Frame Breast Care Center or the Integrative Medicine Support Services at Park Avenue Medical Center here in Trumbull, Connecticut. So start by taking a soft breath in. And let's just tune in to the rhythm of our bodies. And the most prevalent rhythm is the rhythm of the lungs. So notice the in-breath. Notice the out-breath. And then notice the tiny spaces in between. And then notice, maybe you can feel or sense the rhythm of the heart. Without changing, we're just noticing, just honoring and paying tribute to the rhythm of the body. And maybe noticing what it needs. It can be abstract or concrete. We can notice the rhythm of the digestion, any gentle movements in the hands or toes or fingers, in the face. We can relax the muscles of the forehead, of the jaw. Maybe we could use some relaxation in the shoulders, in the belly, in the hips. And we can relax the feet and toes all the way down to the soles of the feet. And then tuning into that rhythm, just notice what the body might need. Are you hungry? Have you gotten outside, had enough fresh air today? Do you need movement? Do you need stillness? And then we'll move to the mind. And just noticing any circumstantial thoughts, any loops. Notice if the mind is working in tangents, jumping from one space to another. And the rhythm of the thoughts, are they spacious? Are they crunched together and really short? Are they smooth? Are they staccato? Just short. Notice the music of the thoughts. Just loving whatever music arises in your thoughts right now. And then you might notice what the thoughts need. I think everything can always use a little bit of love. Maybe we can just shower the thoughts with love, whatever they are. Imagine giving our thoughts it's a really warm hug. You might even imagine what that hug would sound like. And then we can tune in to the element of the spirit. Now maybe it's the energy that surrounds us and the electricity that keeps us flowing. Maybe it's the soul or the source of energy that connects us to our higher power. Whatever that piece of you is that connects you to the space around you or connects you to something bigger, you might just notice where you feel that today. Is it a tiny space inside your heart or in your brain? Is it a gigantic glowing field all around? Or is it just an endless, expansive space? And just feel it. Notice if it pulses or flickers or sparkles. If it has a movement to it or if it's very still. Just noticing the tempo and the feel of the spirit. And then we can offer it a sound of love. And you might just ask the spirit what it needs. And all of these, the mind, body, and spirit, it can be in the moment, or it can be something that you work towards. might just identify one thing that you could offer to the mind, body, spirit, to your greater self, just today. And then return to the breath. Soft breath in. And a slow breath out. You can continue to meditate and contemplate this musical space that you have within you in the mind, body, and spirit for as long as you need. If not, I wish you farewell. Thank you so much for joining us today and being part of this exploration of connection and community. And I truly hope that you join our community of wellness and participate in some of the magnificent practices that we have cultivated for you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Harmony, Health and Harmony. Thanks for joining us for Harmony and Health, and we'll see you next time. We'll have another session in January on sleep, and we'll have a couple of beautiful presenters then. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening.